Hi everyone, welcome to this quick tutorial on how you can build your own assignment tracker using Notion. So this is what the final product will look like. Here you can see all of your tasks, the tasks you're going to be working on for this week, as well as a calendar view to track your self-deadline, as well as the actual due date. On the left, you can also see a chart which shows all of the grades that you received on the submitted assignments, and you can see that we can track the mark as well as the assignment that they're tied to. Beneath here, you can also include a Spotify embed list to listen to some music while you're working on crossing out tasks from your to-do list. And finally, we have the database, which we're going to be building in today's video. Again, if you'd like, this template is available in the description below. But if you'd like to learn how the actual database functions and how you can customize it even further, feel free to stick around and watch this tutorial. All right, so here we have a new page. And before we get started with the actual editing as well as creating the database, I always like to start by making my page full width. To do this, you can head over to the top right and then select the full width option. As well, you can give the page a name, and I'm going to be naming it assignment tracker. So we want to create two separate columns, as we can see in this original template. On the left, we'll have a certain set of values, and on the right, we'll have all of the tasks that we have to do. So to do this, you can create two blocks, which you can see here. And now you want to take one of the blocks and align them vertically like so. And you can adjust this so it matches the width on either side. And before actually creating all of the different views that you can see on the original template, let's build the actual database that will be operating the entire tracker. So I'm going to create a new page, and in this page, let's say we call this database, and now I'm going to create an inline database. To do this, you want to type forward dash and type in inline, and now you can create a new empty data source. You can also give the database a name. I'm going to simply call it deadlines tracker. Again, you want to make the page full width so that we're able to track all of the different categories and see all of the information at once. So the first thing you want to do is create a few properties so that we're able to track key information such as the course, the progress that you've made, the deadlines, as well as the grade that you received. So I'm going to create all of those properties now. The first one is going to be a select property for the course. So I'm going to rename the property so it's a course. The next one is going to be the type of assignment it is. Following this, we're going to create a progress property, which is going to be a status property. And then we're going to be creating two dates. So the first one is going to be the self deadline. And then the second one is going to be the actual due date. And finally, we're going to be creating a formula property so that we're able to track the amount of time left, as well as a grade property to see what mark we received on the assignment. Also, for the time left formula to function, we have to create another hidden property, which is going to be the days. And this is essentially going to calculate the amount of time from the deadline up to today. All right, so I'm going to quickly reformat this so it looks a bit more visually pleasing and everything is much more accessible. So from the far left, we have a completed button. And by clicking this button, we can change the progress from not started or any other progress property to submitted immediately. To do this, we first have to edit the button. So click on the property and click on edit automation. And then here you want to click on new action and you want to click edit property. And the property should be progress, and it should automatically edit the property to submitted. And now if I click the button, it automatically changes the progress to submitted. Next, we have the course for which the assignment or any other task is related to. And of course, you can click on the property and add any other course name that you'd like to based on the courses that you're taking. So this is really customizable. Next, we have the name of the actual assessment, followed by the type. So for type, there's a lot of different options, ranging from homework to group projects to research projects. And of course, if you have any other special type of assessment, for example, case studies, you can also add those here. Next, we have the progress. And so for the progress, there's 4 main stages: not started, in progress, reviewed, and submitted. The main difference between the standard and this progress tracker is that there's a reviewed option. And this is because oftentimes we may submit actual assignments at a later date, even after having completed them. And so if we check off the task from our list, there's a really high chance that we forget to actually submit the assignment, even when it's in the actual Dropbox. The next 2 properties are for dates. The first one is the self deadline, and the second is the actual due date. The self deadline is there to help you create accountability. Essentially, this is the date on which you want to complete the given task, and basically you want to do it a bit earlier than the due date so you avoid cramming everything last minute. So for example, if unit 1 assessment was due on April 11th, then if it was due on April 13th and I want to finish it by April 11th, that gives me an extra 2-day buffer. Next, we have the time left formula, and this is essentially calculating the amount of time left from the actual due date to today's date. And so to create this formula, we first need another formula to calculate the amount of days left. And in the formula property, here's the code. So we're calculating the date between the due date and today. Once we have this property, we head back over to time left, and you use this formula to essentially format the dates and give yourself reminders. I'll also link this formula in the description in case you want to copy paste it directly into the given property. After you've made the time left property, you can also hide the day's value. And this is because we won't actually be editing it manually, and so there's no need for it to display and occupy space. Finally, we have the grade. So this is the mark that you receive on the given assignment, and this is essentially going to be used later on to visually track our academic performance. So now heading back to the main page, we can now create different views to essentially look at all of the different data points in the database in unique formats. So on the right, I'm going to be creating 3 different views. The first one is going to be for all tasks. The second one is going to be for this week's tasks. And the final one is going to be a calendar view. For all 3 of these, I'm going to be using a linked view of the database. So if I type / and linked view, I should be able to now search up the database, which is going to be the deadlines tracker, and have it appear like so. First, you want to hide the title. And then for all tasks, we're going to be creating 2 separate views. The first one is going to be for all of the unfinished assignments, and the second one is going to be for all of our finished assignments. So I'm going to create a separate view and call this one finished. Heading back to the first one, this is going to be unfinished. To display only the assignments which are not yet submitted, we're going to be using the filter property. So you can click on filter, head over to progress, and select all of the options except for reviewed, except for submitted. So that includes not started, in progress, and reviewed. And now all of the properties which do not filter through that criteria will show up here. So for example, if I were to change the progress from not started to submitted, the assignment disappears from this view. Now for the finished view, we're going to be doing a similar process. So we're going to click on filter, progress, and now only choose submitted. So now we will only see the assignments that have been submitted and meet the criteria. Next, for this week's tasks, we're going to be using another linked view of the original database. So that's the deadlines tracker. And this time, we're going to first head over to settings and change the layout from table to a board. And what this will help us do is track all of the assignments that are due in this week and how much progress we've made. So let's say I get started with Unit 1 assessment. Instead of having to go back and manually edit the progress here, I can simply drag the given assignment into the next box. All right, so we're going to be also using a filter to make sure we can only see the tasks that are due this week. So we're going to be choosing the due date and keep the original format, which is going to be filtering all of the tasks which are relative to today and are due within the upcoming week. Finally, we're going to be creating a calendar view. So following the similar format, we're going to be creating a linked view of the original database and choose the deadlines tracker. Now we're going to head over to settings, click on layout, and choose the calendar option. Now we're going to be creating two separate views to track all of the assignments based on the self deadlines and their actual deadlines. So for the first view, we're going to rename it to self deadlines. And now we're going to create another view, which is also going to be a calendar, and rename this one to the actual deadline. Now heading back to self deadlines, we're going to click on the settings, click on layout, and under show calendar by, we want to make sure that we're seeing the self deadline. And this is because since every assignment has two different due dates, we want to make sure that we don't mix them up or confuse them across the different views. Also, heading back to settings, under property visibility, we want to make sure that we can see the course, the due date, and the progress that we've made. So on a quick glance, I'm able to see what the assignment is, what course it's related to, and what the actual due date is, and my progress. Now heading back to the actual deadlines, we're going to go to settings, layout, and under show calendar by, we're going to choose the due date. Now the change shifts from April 11th to April 13th. Again, for property visibility, you want to choose course, due date, and progress that has been made. Now we have all three views that we wanted completed. And now on the left side, we're going to be adding two separate items. So first is going to be a grades overview, and this is going to be done using a chart property. And the second is going to be a playlist, which is going to be a Spotify embed. All right, so for the grades overview, we're going to be creating a chart. And to do this, you can type /chart and choose the donut chart option. Here, to link the chart to the original database, we're going to type its name, which is deadlines tracker. And now within this option, we're going to head back to settings. And for what to show, we're going to be filtering this based on the grade that we have received. Also, we're going to be adding some filters to make sure that the data we see is actually valuable. And so first, we want to make sure that all of the grades that we see here are for assignments that have been submitted. So we're going to filter based on the progress and choose the submitted option. Heading back to filters, we're also going to be adding another filter for the type of assignment that it is. So homework and reading don't usually tend to be marked formally and contribute to the major grade that you have at the end of the course. So we're going to exclude those from the grade calculations. So we're going to select exam, group project, presentation, research project, and test. All right, so we don't have any data here yet, but let's say I was to submit this assignment and then also give it a grade value of, let's say, 90%. Now I can see the number, but also if I click the 90% in the circle, I can see what assignment specifically I scored a 90% on, and it helps me just visualize everything further. And now for playlist, again, you can type /embed and then embed the Spotify link. As a sample, I'm going to be embedding a study Spotify playlist that you can listen to. All right, so if you copy paste the link here, you can see that you can automatically create a pop-up and then adjust it as you'd like to. And now we have all of the different components. So that includes the tasks, this week's tasks, as well as a calendar view, and you can track your grades and listen to some music while you're checking things off your to-do list. So that concludes everything for today. Thank you so much for sticking all the way to the end of this video. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out via the comment section below or simply email me, which is also going to be mentioned below. And again, if you'd like to directly access the template, you can do so using the link in the description. Thank you again for joining today, and I hope you're able to use this assignment tracker to stay on top of all of your tasks.